Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to It's English Ocean. So today's lesson is gonna be completely different from the rest of the lessons I've done on my YouTube channel. Because in today's lesson, I'll be telling you 13 most common and important literary devices. Literary devices are also known as poetic devices. And if you don't know what literary devices are, these are actually used by the poets in their poems to beautify the poem, to make the poem more beautiful and to express their words indirectly and in a different language. So if you want to be a poet in future, or you're not able to understand the poetry but you're really interested in reading the poems, you love reading poems, you must know all these literary devices because these are definitely gonna help you understand the poems more better. Or if you're a student, and sometimes students are given a poem in their exam and they are asked to point out literary devices used in the poem, but you are having a difficulty in finding out those, or you didn't get what actually all this is, then this lesson is going to extremely help you. Definitely you are going to learn something new and different related to literature in this lesson. So the quote of the day is, if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams and you will always look lovely. I repeat, if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams and you will always look lovely. So, number 1 is assonance. Assonance. It is the repetition of the similar or same vowel sounds within words, phrases, or sentences. For example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So as you can see, when there is underline of pink, the repetition is of E vowel sound. And the underlined word I with grey color, it is the repetition of I vowel sound. Peter, peck and pepper. Then Piper picked and pickled. Example number 2, the bell near the well is made of shells. So here you can notice the underlined E vowel is repeated. Bell, well, and shell. Number 2, we have alliteration. Alliteration. It is repetition of consonant sound in beginning of words. Example number 1, sheep should sleep in a shed. So you can see the repetition of S consonant in the starting of almost every word. Sheep should, sleep shed. Example number 2, a big bug with little beetle, but little beetle with the big bug back. So here it is the repetition of the consonant B. Third one, we have climax. In this, the words, phrases, or clauses are arranged in order of increasing importance or ascending order. The most important one will be put it at the last and the least important one will be at the first. Let's say an example. So the first one is, let a man acknowledge his obligations to himself, his family, his country and his God. So this means that the first obligation of man is to the God, then to country, family and then to himself. Example number 2, he came, he saw, conquered. He came, he saw and he conquered. So the most important thing is that he conquered, because that requires strength, will, courage. The fourth one is just the opposite of the third one. It is anti-climax. The most important statement will come first and the least important at last. Let's see an example. He lost his family's car and his cell phone. So the most important thing he lost was his family. Then comes his car, then comes his cell phone. But nowadays, maybe cell phone is also important, but yeah, it's not more than the family. It's true. The next one is Mrs. Bell is a doctor, wonderful father, and caring husband. Actually, I've written this one wrong. It must be, the name must be Mr. or something, or it should be, let's say, I'm sorry for this. Mrs. Bell is a doctor, wonderful mother and a caring wife. Hope you got it. So at first her obligation is to serve as the doctor, then as a mother and then as a wife. Fifth one is irony. It is a contrast between expectation and reality. It is associated with both tragedy and humor. It can be verbal, situation, dramatic. It's divided into 3 categories: verbal, situation and dramatic. So the first example is for the situation number 1, verbal. A character is stepping out into a hurricane and saying, "What a nice weather we are having." Of course, it's verbal because it's said by the mouth, and it's of course an irony. Why is it an irony? Because a hurricane can't be good weather, so it's like a kind of joke. It's kind of humor. It can be both tragedy, it can be humor. So here, the first example, it's humor and tragedy both. So he's saying that it's hurricane outside and it's nice weather, so he's just joking it. The next one is situational, a fire station that burns down. So it's irony because it's really impossible that a fire station can burn down, because fire station is for burning out the fire, is for blowing out the fire, and how it can just burn down. So it's a kind of irony situation over here. The third one is girl in the horror film hides in the closet where the killer just went. So it's a dramatic situation. It's in drama, it's in movie. So the girl in the horror film hides in the closet where the killer just went. The place where the ghost or the killer just went, the girl hid there. So it's irony. The audience knows that the ghost or the killer is there, but the girl doesn't know. So it's an irony. Next one is imagery. Imagery takes the reader into imagination, as we can see the word imagery, and uses 5 senses: taste, touch, sight, smell, and sound. An example: the autumn leaves are a blanket on the ground. Of course, they can't be blanket, or a blanket can't be made of autumn leaves, but it looks like that they're just the autumn leaves have covered the ground so much thick that it's looking like a blanket. Anyone can sleep on it, and it's looking beautiful. So these imaginary is one of the most important part in poems. The poets use a lot of imagery in their poems. The next one is the houses look like frosted cakes in the winter. Now just listen it carefully. The houses look like frosted cakes in the winter. Why it's frosted cakes? Because the ice that falls during the snowfall, the snow that covers the houses, the rooftops, it looks like frosted cakes. The cakes have been frosted. If you see some photographs, or if you see from helicopter, you'll just imagine the thing. You can just understand what it actually looks like. And yeah, the houses actually look like frosted cakes in winter. Actually, guys, I'm not that much good in making the videos, so just now I just noticed that the background music was so loud, so I just adjusted it. I'll be adjusting it, and now I have just adjusted it into a low tone. Now let's come back to the lesson. The next one is hyperbole. Hyperbole is exaggeration. You exaggerate something, you flatter something. Let's say that man is as tall as a house. That man, of course, a man can't be tall as ours, but it's like exaggeration, it's flattering, because you want to praise that person, you want something from the person, or it's like, of course, using stories and poems a lot. Of course, poems, figures of speeches, or literary devices. I just use most common use in poems. They can be used in films, novels. They can be used anywhere, but yeah, most often they are used in your poems. The next one is your skin is softer than silk. Your skin is softer than silk. This can actually happen, kind of, but here it's saying that your skin is softer than silk. Your skin is softer than silk. Your skin is beautiful. Number 8 is little toes. Little toes. Or you can also say it as litotes. Litotes. I'm really confused about the pronunciation. If you know the right one, just to comment me in the comment section below. Litotes are actually negative sentences which are not negative, but the negative word like not is used there, but it's not negative. Let's see with an example. She is not unkind. It means she is kind, but you're not saying directly she is kind. You are saying she is not unkind. So of course she is kind. You're not wrong. Of course you are right. This means you're right, but you're not saying directly you're right. You're not wrong. Third one is it wasn't a terrible trip. It means it was a nice trip. It wasn't that much good, but yeah, it was a nice trip. So you're saying it wasn't a terrible trip. Of course, it was not a terrible trip. Ninth one is fun. It is one of my favorite, and the new language learners may find it difficult to understand where the person has used fun. Actually, the pun statements are really difficult to understand. They are the play on words with double meaning joke, or they can be humorous. So they are play on words. They have a double meaning with them. It's a joke. Let's say an example. The population of Ireland is always Dublin. So doubling is a city in Ireland, and it means like it's doubling. So it's kind of humor. The next one is a pessimist blood type is always B positive. Let me tell you what a pessimist is. Pessimist, if you don't know, is a person who always thinks positive, who doesn't believe in negative. So it's like humor. Pessimist blood type is always P positive. You must be positive. The next one is also beautiful. It is personification. Personification. It is to personify human activities to inhuman objects. Let's see with an example. Lightning danced across the sky. Of course, lightning can't dance. Well, when it lights, it looks like it's dancing because somewhere it comes from here and there, and it's like it's a little bit horrible. So it seems like it is dancing. So we are just comparing human, or we are just putting human activities to inhuman things, to non-human objects. Next one, my alarm clock yells at me to get out of the bed every morning. Of course, the alarm clock can't yell, but when it starts in the morning, its time is there to wake up, it yells. It looks like it's yelling. 11th one is paradox. It is a statement which tells two opposite things and contradict itself. So it is telling two different things, two opposite things at the same time. Example number 1, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. OM guy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Next one is earn money by spending it. So it's kind of situation totally opposite. How can just it happen? But it's a situation sometimes when we earn money by spending it. Of course, it can happen that the enemy of your enemy is your friend. It's obvious, but it seems like that it's what is happening. You may not understand it first, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Of course, the enemy of your enemy, let's say A is the enemy of B, and of course B's enemy, let's say C, will be a friend of A, or you can say A and C are friends. So A's enemy is B and B's enemy is C. So it's kind of, difficult to understand at first. 12th one is metaphor. Metaphor. It makes comparison between two things that aren't alike but do have something in common. So it's a comparison between two things that they're not same, but maybe they have something that make them similar. They have common. Let's say my kid's bedroom or my kid's room is the disaster area. Of course, your kid's room can be a disaster area because it's full of mess, because it's full of howling, deafening noise, and so the next one is the world is a stage. Of course, just think it deeply. The world is a stage. We have a lot to perform. We have a lot to see in the world. So the world is actually a stage. And all these literal devices sometimes just fall you in a situation. We have to think deeply, think a lot. The last one is simile. Simile is a comparison using like or as. Like or as. Let's say an example. She is innocent. She is as innocent as an angel. She is as innocent as an angel. So you're comparing her innocence to an angel's innocence. Next one is our eyes shone like diamonds. So her eyes were shining like diamonds. Diamonds are beautiful. They shine beautifully. So you're just comparing that her eyes were shining like diamonds. Actually, I know for a beginner, it's difficult to compare let's say when you've given a poem and you have to just take out which one is simile, which one is metaphor, which one is paradox. Sometimes it's kind of difficult and it's confusing because all seem like the same kind of. But when you'll practice more exercises of these, you'll get to know it much better. So this was the 13 literal devices. Hope you have learned something new and important from the lesson. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.